All right, everybody, welcome to week 3. Today, we're going to be talking about healthy grocery shopping and how that can fit into healthy lifestyle habits, and where that can play in all of this process. So just a reminder of your 3 Meyer dietitians. We have myself, Kelly, we have Jody and Beth. And again, Beth is on our call today. So if you have any questions during the presentation, feel free to add those to the chat and she'd be happy to answer those for you. And then just another reminder that we have 3 more weeks to go of this program. We're going to do smart snacking and hydration next week, plant forward eating, and then the last week will be the role of physical activity and health. And then this is just another reminder of all of the features that you have available to you on the Nutrition by Meyer platform. So if you have any issues using any of these features, please let us know through the chat now, through the chat feature on the Nutrition by Meyer platform, or sending an email to the RX dietitian account as well. One specific one I wanted to call out in here was the community group messaging. So if there are a few people interested in the MyMichigan group who'd love to connect with one another and talk about what's been working well with them, add that to the chat that you'd be interested in a group community messaging, so that we could get you all connected. So let's dive in here. We're going to push our cart towards better health. And to be able to do that, we need to know what a balanced plate looks like. So how do we build a balanced meal? So this example is from Harvard. This is the Harvard Healthy Eating Plate. I thought that this was a really good example to be able to show you exactly what this could look like. So we want half of our plate to be plants, fruits and vegetables. You'll see an important message in here that potatoes are excluded, but that doesn't mean that you can't enjoy potatoes with your meals. Just how could we add a little bit more nutrition to them? Could we make them into kind of like a skillet with potatoes, mushrooms, maybe a little bit of onions as well, just to add a little bit more variety to them? And then we will go over to the whole grain section. And we want to make sure that this is about 1/4 of our plate. So this could be a whole grain pasta, a wild rice. We could do a quinoa, some type of oat-based side that we could add here. And the point for the whole grain fruits and vegetables is that fiber component. They're also going to contain wonderful vitamins and minerals as well. But we want to try to add as much fiber as we can to our balanced plate because that's going to be a really nutritious add. And then the last part is going to be filling the last 1/4 of the plate with a healthy and or lean protein. This could be fish or poultry, beans or lentils. We want to try to limit red meat or processed meats as much as we are able to. The types of meats that will fit into this category will be red meats is going to be like our ground beef, our steak, sometimes certain cuts of pork, and then processed meats will be bacon, ham, salami, things like that. The reason for this is just because they can be an increased risk when we consume them in elevated amounts for colon cancer. So still know that you can enjoy these, but we want to try to predominantly choose those lean proteins. And then we see water as well. So when we're choosing ways to hydrate, drinking just plain water is great, unsweetened tea, coffee, all of these will add to your overall fluid intake. We could also, have a glass of milk, and that would add fluid to our day as well. But we still want to try to limit this to that 1 to 2 servings a day. Protein is going to be a part of milk and also calcium. So there's going to be great nutrition in there, but we want to try to gear most of the fluids that we're consuming to water, tea, or coffee. And then you'll also see the healthy fats on this slide as well. This is going to be mostly what we want to shoot for is our unsaturated fats. So we could get this in olive oil, in avocado oil, avocados themselves, or mostly our fatty fish. So we know that when we're choosing fat sources, we want to shoot for those unsaturated fats. And then we'll also see this person who says stay active as it's running around the plate. A pretty standard movement recommendation is going to be about 30 minutes a day. And this doesn't have to be all at once. It could be 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the afternoon, and 10 minutes at night. So whatever way feels good for you. And then once we know how to build a balanced plate, we can use that information to be able to create our grocery list. So the reason that creating a grocery list can be beneficial is that it promotes intentional shopping. So we have a list, we have specific items that we're looking for, and it kind of helps to avoid those impulse buys when we're kind of just roaming around the grocery store, no specific plan. We have a list, we have meal plans, so we know exactly what we are going into the store for. And then kind of falling into our next point of supporting meal planning, we can find some different recipes throughout the week, know which ingredients we already have at home, which ones we need to pick up, add those to our list, and be able to find a meal to make for that day, or maybe how we could meal plan for the entire week. This can also help save time and reduce stress. So sometimes going to the grocery store can be a whole process. So if we are able to go in with a plan, we know where aisles we need to go down, and this can kind of help with the time savings because we are going in, we're getting what we need, and we're getting out. This could also help with improving budgeting and reducing waste. So as you're creating your grocery list, make sure to check the weekly ad that you can find on the Meijer website page to see what's going to be on sale that week. You could also make sure to check what coupons are available so that you can clip those before you go shopping, and then reducing waste as well because we have a plan, we know what meals we're going to make, and we aren't just buying random things and then maybe they are going to waste because we didn't have a full plan. And then it can also empower that behavior change. So if you've never created a grocery list before, hopefully once you do and you see how helpful it can be to help organize the shopping experience, it can make it more likely that you are going to make another shopping list again. This one is going to be about pantry staples. So what foods can we keep on hand, hopefully all of the time, to be able to create balanced meals, maybe when we haven't been able to get to the grocery store. So some of those pantry staples are going to be brown rice, quinoa, whole grain pasta. I have some of these in my pantry all of the time. It seems like they're in there forever, but they are always within the expiration date. They always taste great every time I make them. And it is just a really nice thing to have on hand, specifically the whole grain pasta. You know, spaghetti is a staple, always having some type of canned tomato in the pantry, maybe some frozen turkey meatballs, and we have a quick meal. Lean protein options could be canned tuna. This could be really great to have with a whole grain cracker, make a whole grain pasta salad with it. We could also have beans, lentils, some shelf stable tofu, or a nut butter as well. Some other healthy fats that we could add to our pantry would be an olive oil that we would use for cold cooking items. So like a pasta salad, an avocado oil that we could use for high heat temperature cooking recipes, and then any nuts and seeds or olives that we could have in our pantry as well. Some flavor boosters would be having vinegar, herbs, spices, and nutritional yeast. Sometimes doing the salt, pepper, and garlic powder can make it challenging to want to try new meals. So spend some time in the spice section. There's so many different blends and varieties that you can try. And maybe this will make adding more fruits and vegetables or lean proteins to your meals a little bit more fun and satisfying. And if you find a spice that you don't like, well, pass it to your neighbor or your friend or family, and maybe they will enjoy it. Some other convenient produce options could be canned fruit. Just make sure that it's packaged in 100% fruit juice instead of the syrup to make sure that we're limiting that amount of added sugar that we're taking in daily. And then for the low sodium canned vegetables, make sure or try to find this low sodium option. If you aren't able to, just know that you can just give them a nice rinse before you use them or add them to your recipe, and that'll kind of help run some of the sodium off. Some other quick meal builders is having some broth, some canned coconut milk, or whole wheat flour. I love having broth on hand. I know that a soup is a minute away for this. Adding some canned beans, some frozen veggies can make for a really quick meal. Somebody I know uses canned coconut milk as their creamer for their coffee, so that could be something to try. And then a whole wheat flour, using those old bananas and making a quick bread just to have more of that fiber option using the whole wheat flour. So this is talking about the difference between produce and how all of the different varieties and ways that they come packaged can fit into a balanced diet. Sometimes it can be assumed that fresh is best, and fresh produce is fantastic. We are so fortunate to have the variety of produce that we do all year round. But frozen and canned also have a place at the table as well. These can be more shelf stable options. There's been times, where I have extravagant meal plans with fresh produce, and then life happens and it doesn't work out, and then it can be, go to waste. These are also, preserved with minimal preservatives as well. Sometimes it can be thought that canned foods have some type of preservative in them, but they are canned the same way that maybe, hopefully, some of you are canning tomatoes right now for that season. The preservative is the seal. And then same thing with the veggies. They're preserved by being frozen. So these can be really great and affordable options to add to your meals. And again, just to always have on hand to be able to find other ways to add more nutrition to the meals that you're making. And then when we think of different protein options, so if we're looking for something quick, we could do, again, the canned tuna, some shredded rotisserie chicken, or frozen meat. We could do eggs or Greek yogurt. Some more of the budget-friendly options are going to be our beans, lentils, tofu, and peanut butter. These are going to be more of our plant-based options. And then some of the lean choices that we could have would be fish. Poultry is going to be more of like our chicken breast. Lean ground meats would be choosing like the 90-10 instead of maybe the 80-20. And then cottage cheese, trying to choose a 2% or a 1% instead of that full fat option. And protein is really important because it helps us feel more satisfied, meaning that it takes longer for our body to break this type of macronutrient down. And so it can make us feel fuller longer, which can help sustain us until that next meal. And in this slide, it can show you that we can add protein to our meals in a quick, budget-friendly, healthy option, healthy way. So just know that, all of these are going to be really great choices. How can we add more fiber to our meals? So of course, when we start in the produce section, some examples are berries, apples, broccoli, and peppers, but anything in the produce section is going to add fiber to your overall intake. So know that anything that you're grabbing out of the produce section in the grocery store is going to add fiber and great vitamins and minerals to whatever you're eating. Whole grains like oats, again, brown rice, whole grain bread are going to add a little bit more fiber into the day as well. And then finding ways to add beans and seeds to your meals. So lentils, black beans, some chia seeds, and maybe even some flaxseed as well. This is important because, again, fiber takes a little bit longer for our body to digest. And so it can, again, kind of help sustain us until that next meal. Fiber is also important because it helps feed our good gut bacteria, so the bugs in our belly, so that we can have a healthy digestive system. And then fiber is ultimately a carbohydrate. And so it does contain some natural sugars that will add to our blood sugar. So we know that because it's taking longer to digest, it's more of a gradual release of those carbohydrates into our bloodstream. So it's more of a steady stream instead of having really high highs and low lows in those blood sugar balances. But we want to make sure that when we are increasing our fiber, we are increasing our fluid as well. So fiber is adding bulk to our digestive system. So it's really sweeping the sides of our digestive system to make sure we get a full elimination of waste. And so we want to make sure that we're getting enough water to keep that process nice and smooth. How can we find ways to swap what we're currently eating for maybe something still satisfying, but maybe have a little bit more nutrition to it? So for grains, instead of doing a white bread, we could find 100% whole grain bread. For drinks, instead of doing regular soda, could we do water or unsweetened tea? We could even do an infused water with some cucumbers or fruit, or maybe a nice flavor packet that could still add a little bit more fun to the water instead of just plain. And then some snack options. So instead of doing chips, maybe we could do popcorn or roasted chickpeas or some nuts so that we could still get that crunch and salty satisfaction that we're getting from the chips, but we're adding a little bit more nutritious to that snack. And then maybe if going into the grocery store just does not fit into your schedule right now, thankfully there is the option to do pickup or delivery of your groceries. This could be really helpful to reduce those impulse purchases. So if you feel like even with your list, you're still feeling tempted to go down the baking aisle, for example, maybe doing the pickup or delivery option would be a good option for you just to be able to limit that temptation if it's still challenging for you when you go into the store. It can also encourage the price comparison. So when we're looking at the shelves at the grocery store, we see all these different products and shelf tags. It can be overwhelming. But when we shop on the app or use the website, it can kind of create a clearer picture of the different brands and the different price points that we're seeing as well. This could, again, be another option to save time if we don't have to go into the grocery store and take the time that it needs to do that. We could just add things to our list throughout the week. And then by the time, Friday comes around and you're having guests over for the weekend, you already have all of the groceries you need to create a beautiful meal for your guests. It could also support mobility and transportation needs. So if there are limitations in mobility or you don't have a way to get to the grocery store, this could be an option to still be able to have access to nutritious foods without having to deal with the hassle of finding a ride or mobility limitations while at the grocery store too. This also decreases the number of store visits. So if you still do enjoy going into the grocery store, but maybe you forgot one more thing, but you don't want to have to go into the store, you could just order it for pickup or delivery and have it at your door, or just go pick it up and be done. And again, kind of helps you build a grocery list as you go. So you could, start it earlier in the week. You find a new recipe on Wednesday, you add those ingredients to your cart. You remember, oh, I need to get more laundry detergent or something like that. We add that to the list. And then once we feel like we have a complete list of everything that we need, we can just process that order through. This is just some benefits of the Meyer app that you can use to help support easy and convenient grocery shopping. So make sure that you do go into the coupons tab and clip the coupons that you want to use for that grocery shopping trip so that you can get those savings. Also, there is a shop and scan option. I was not aware of this until I started working for Meyer, but you can scan each barcode of the items that you're purchasing. And then by the time you get to the register, you can just scan one large barcode, and then that will bring up all of the items that you have in your cart. So this could be helpful for people who like to bring reusable bags and package everything as they shop so that they don't have to take everything out, scan it all, and then put it back into the bags. And then make sure to use your MPerks points. The money that you're spending is giving you perks to be able to take $10 off of your cart or get benefits on certain products. So make sure to use those points that you're earning as well. Also in the app, you can look at where each product is in the grocery store. So it's aisle 3 in this section, just to make if you are finding those new products a little bit easier to access. Now we're going to learn how to read a nutrition label. So when we are trying to compare different products and look for the healthier option, what are some key points that we need to look at to know that this is going to be a good product that's going to support my health? So this first section, the blue section, is the serving size. So the serving size is reflective of everything below it. So the serving size is showing exactly all of the nutrition facts for that specific serving size. If you're eating double the portions, just know that you need to double the calories and the protein and things like that, because it's only showing you the nutrition facts for that serving size. And then we have the calories section. This is just showing you how many calories and or energy you are getting from this product. And then there's the percent daily value. And this one can be a helpful section just as a quick way to know, if this product is going to be a good one to purchase or not. So when we think about percent daily value, when we look at a 5% daily value, that's going to be a pretty low nutrient content. And so when we think of the specific areas of the nutrition facts panel that we want to be low, we want to see around 5% for our saturated fat, our sodium, and our added sugar as some examples for that. When we see a 20% daily value, that's going to be a high nutrient content. This is going to be a really good source. So for 20%, we want to see that for our protein, our fiber. As you can see in this nutrition label, 13 grams of protein is contributing to 26% of the daily value. So this particular product would be a great source and or excellent source of protein. Looking at the fats section, so there are overall 3 different types of fats. So you'll see the total fats on there, and that's going to be calculating the saturated fat, the trans fat, and the unsaturated fat that is in this product. So saturated fat, again, is one that we want to try to keep limited in our overall diet. So we want to try to limit it to about 10% of our total daily calories. In referring to a 2,000 calorie diet, this would be about 22 grams of total saturated fat. Then we have trans fats. For the most part, trans fats have been banned since I believe about 2019. So you won't really see these, even like a gram of trans fats on any foods, but there can still be trace amounts. And so again, when you do increase the serving size, potentially there could be those trace amounts in there. And then unsaturated fats. And again, these are the type of fats that we want to eat predominantly. If we want to, when we are choosing fats, we want them to be the unsaturated fats. And I know they aren't listed on the nutrition facts panel. So just know that you can take the total fat and subtract out, take the saturated fat, take the total fat and subtract the saturated fat to know what the unsaturated fat content is. This is going to be talking about carbohydrates, particularly with fiber. We want to try to find products that have 3 grams of fiber or more per serving. If we are able to find products that have 5 grams or more, that's going to be considered a high fiber option. So when looking at that fiber section, try to see if you can find foods that have 3 to 5 grams of fiber. And that's how you'll know that that's going to be a really good source. The total sugars is including the total amount of sugar in this product. So there are, for example, dairy that contain natural sugars, such as lactose. So these are just natural sugars that are found in our dairy products that will be added into the total sugar amount. But then you'll see that added sugars section that'll be under it. And the added sugars is exactly as it sounds, the amount of sugar that is added to this product. So high fructose corn syrup, cane sugar, things like that. So you know that those won't be naturally occurring. They have been added to this product. And then looking at protein, we want to try to shoot for foods that are going to be, protein from whole food sources. So meat, poultry, eggs, soy products, if we are going to choose like a protein supplement, like a protein powder, make sure that it's whey protein isolate, or if you're shooting more for a plant-based option, the pea or soy protein can be really great as well. And then for our vitamins and minerals, the ones that are displayed on the nutrition facts panels are just the most commonly vitamins and minerals that are deficient in the American diet. So know that it doesn't only contain these vitamins and minerals. These are just the ones that are always going to be listed because they are most commonly deficient in the American diet. And then the ingredient statement. This one can be sometimes a tricky place to be because there are so many different ingredients and it's hard to know what is what. But just know that the ingredients are listed from most to least by weight. So the first ingredient that you're seeing on the ingredient statement is what predominantly that product is made up of. So make sure to compare brands, look at the ingredient statement and see, what the difference is between those ingredients. The front of pack, so they can say, GLP-1 friendly or natural and things like that. Those are unregulated claims. So just know that where you are going to find the facts of this food is going to be in the ingredient statement and on the nutrition facts label. So here we're kind of talking about those claims that are unregulated. It can make them sound like they are healthy, but they could still be high in added sugar or sodium or calories in general. So just make sure, again, when you are seeing those claims, flip that box around, see what's actually true about the product. And then another way for us to be able to compare value. So look at the unit price so that maybe we're seeing two different products that are priced around $7.14 for 10 pounds, and maybe the other one is for 8 pounds, and just see how much that unit price is per pound or per ounce to know how you are going to be able to get the best deal. And you'll see these on the shelf tags like you can see in this picture here. Some of our store brands are going to be the more affordable option. So always know that you have those available to you if you are shopping on a budget. And also try to find foods that you can work into more than one meal. For quinoa, for example, this is a type of grain. We could make a batch of quinoa and have it for cereal in the morning, adding some berries or nuts and some milk to it, and we can make it into a cereal. We could then add it again to our dinner as a side, or make a quinoa salad with the grains and the beans and maybe some other vegetables in there too. So try to find those options that you can use maybe more than one time, and they'll also be easy to prep for you too. So that is all that I have for you guys today. There are so many other topics that we could talk about, with shopping at the grocery store. I want to make sure that I call out that we do have free sponsored mini sessions, 20-minute appointments with our Meyer registered dietitians this August. So for the entire month, I will have Beth put that sign up link in the chat for you to be able to sign up if you're interested. If you want to know, how can I learn to shop better based off of your specific situation, we would be happy to talk with you about that. We also have a free cooking class happening tomorrow too. It goes live at 12, but we always record them so you can view the recording later. This one will be in partnership with Pacific Coast Producers, and it'll be cherry focused. So if you're interested in any fun cherry recipes, this would be a really fun class for you to attend. I'm going to pass it over to Beth. She is going to provide some reminders on how to use your vouchers, unique offer codes, or farmer market coupons as well, just because we're at the third week and these should be sent out this week. So I'm going to pass it over to Beth. She's just going to hop on here in just a moment. She's got to get her mic set up.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me out there in the world?
Yes.
Fantastic. Well, I did want to let you know that after this week, we will be sending the attendance and those that have completed the pretest, all of that information to your local MyMichigan prescription for health provider. So be on the lookout from your MyMichigan provider for whichever voucher or type of unique offer code you have chosen. Kelly, would you mind muting your there it is. Okay, sorry, there's getting a little echo there. So whatever type of incentive you have requested via the forms, that is how you will be sent the different types of the different types of incentives. So that we have those unique offer codes that you'll use in your M-Perks, and I can go into that a little bit more in depth if you're willing to stay on. We also have those physical vouchers that you can use at Meijer stores, and then farmers market vouchers for local farmers markets if that is the type of incentive you had asked for. So I am missing from one person on this call, if you don't mind coming off mute and sharing, Andrew Mong, and I've messaged you a couple times, but do you know if